All right, we are live. Happy Wednesday. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to give everyone just a few minutes for all the tech to connect with each other. And as you're jumping on, when you're jumping on, let me know who's here. Drop me a comment in the chat. Tell me who you are and where you're joining us from. Should you be catching this on the replay, be sure to leave me a comment saying hashtag replay with your name as well. Looking forward to reading any comments that you've got. And it looks like we're all connected here. We're streaming today on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. So again, welcome everyone. If I am new to you and you are new to me, let me take a minute to introduce myself. My name is Beverly Smith, and I am the founder of Career Success Strategies. And as the former owner of a staffing and recruiting firm, I know firsthand what hiring managers are looking for. And I'm using that knowledge now to help mid and senior level professionals build their resumes, develop their job search strategies so that they can land the career of their dreams. So last week, speaking of job search strategies, our live stream, we talked a lot about different job search strategies that you can implement. So if you missed that, you can go back and catch the replay. Best way probably to find it is over on YouTube. My channel is at Beverly Smith Resumes, and it is under the live tab, and you can jump in and get that there. So but today I'm so excited to introduce my special guest, Dr. Jeannine Bennett, who has come back on the live stream for a second time. And this time she's going to be talking to us all about networking. Y'all, and if you follow me for long, you know this is one of my favorite topics. So spoiler alert, she's got a new book coming out on this topic, and we'll be talking about that as well. I'm going to encourage you guys to go and grab a pen and paper, because we're going to be giving you some good information on networking, and also you're going to want to know how you can pre-order Jeannine's book, so you'll want to grab that. But real quick, let me tell you a little bit about Jeannine. Dr. Jeannine Bennett is a certified career professional. She is a military transition specialist, a business consultant, a published author, and a college professor. She's also the driving force behind Vision to Purpose, which is dedicated to empowering individuals and businesses to achieve their goals through customized career, business, and writing solutions. So Jeannine has more than 30 years of experience with her visionary approach and has made a huge impact in the areas of entrepreneurship, academia, and authorship. So Jeannine, thank you for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Well, thanks for having me on the show again. I'm excited to be back.
Yeah. So, well, we get to break it to the world about this book coming out, and I am really excited. Like I mentioned, networking is probably one of my favorite topics to talk about. I got most all of my jobs through networking, but this book is called Brewing Success, A Job Seeker's Guide to Networking. And I would love for you to tell us more about this book and just kind of summarize it and what inspired you to write it.
Awesome. Love to do so. Yes. So breaking news, like you said, it's out today. Pre-order anyway, pre-order. You can go to Amazon to get the book. But it has been a process getting it here, an exciting journey. But let me tell you a little bit about the book, and then who actually contributed, because I'm really excited about how this came together. And it really fits the theme of networking. But before I jump ahead, let me just tell you a little bit about it. So first, why did we call it, or I call it with my contributors, why do we call it Brewing Success? Well, just like brewing that perfect cup of coffee takes time, building professional relationships does too. There's a delicate balance and a great reward that comes with it when you build those relationships. And that's really what networking is all about, building relationships. So what makes this book different? you're probably thinking, Jeannine, there's a ton of networking books out there. Why is yours different? Well, this book, yes, just like other books, provides practical tips, strategies, guidance, and will enhance, your efforts. But the difference is this book is from a Christian perspective. So you will find scripture in the book. But also, and the most important thing I think is the contributors. There's 12 contributors to this book. And the reason I chose to have others join me in this writing endeavor was because networking is all about building relationships and connections and growing them. And everybody that's been a part of this book who has contributed their insights, their expertise, their strategies, experiences, I met through different networking channels. So even being on this podcast, I met Beverly through an association that we both belong to. And she's actually one of the contributors to this book because she is an expert networker. So, but again, the book talks about the power of networking. It talks about networking etiquette. It talks about networking for introverts. Everybody thinks extroverts are the only people that can network, and that's not true. So we bust that myth in the book as well. And then again, we talk about navigating the networking channels, whether it's events or even on social media and whatnot. But anyway, that's it in a nutshell. It's a networking book with a different perspective. And you're getting advice from, like I said, 12 expert contributors from different industries. We have finance, healthcare, human resources, government, several consultants, photographers. So I guess entrepreneurs, if you will. Beverly, as she said, former recruiting specialist, so a lot of different perspectives, So I think that's what really makes it stand out. You're getting different industries, different perspectives, different people.
Talk to me more about why you chose to add the Christian perspective to this book.
Oh, I lost you for just a second. What was that last part, Beverly?
Talk to me about why you chose to add the Christian perspective to this book.
Well, good point. Because some people could be turned off by that, if they're not a Christian. But the point is to really, I'm a Christian company. Vision to Purpose is actually a Christian organization. And the belief is, Christians are about community and fellowship and coming together and building those relationships going forward. And it was just a natural connection with networking. Networking is about community and connection and building relationships. So I just felt it was a natural fit. The book, I will tell you, is not overly religious. Don't get me wrong. But it does definitely share some encouraging scripture. Again, everybody in the book that has contributed is a Christian and has shared their experiences. It is very much networking centric. It doesn't delve into other areas per se, but so that's why I did it. Like I said, a Christian organization, and just felt it was a good integration of biblical principles with networking.
We have someone who just left us a comment, and it just says LinkedIn user. So I'm not sure who it is, but they said, being bold for God. I love it.
I love that. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Let me reply back. I can't type and talk at the same time.
That's okay. That's all right. I get it. Well, while you're typing, I'll tell you another thing about the book that is, I think, will make for a good guide for anybody who picks it up, is it's broken down into 5 parts. So you don't have to read the book consecutively. You can go to the part that you're interested in. So the first part would be, networking importance, mindset, which is so critical for job seekers, but even business professionals. Mindset is important. And then connections. How do you build them and then maintain them once you have them? Part 2 is networking skills, strategies, etiquette. Part 3, leveraging your network through different channels, because you can really network face to face. But, in today's interconnected world, LinkedIn is great, Facebook, as you can see with this podcast, Beverly has us everywhere today. And then networking through challenges, like I talked about the introvert, or just not sure how to start the process. And then finally, networking for growth, social impact, and life. So you can really jump around to whatever is of your interest.
Right, right. One of the things that when you and I connected, we actually didn't know each other. When you first reached out to me of the book, we, like you said, we were a member of the same association, and we had mutual friends that connected us. And this, our friend Aricia Schaefer is the one who introduced us, and you were looking for some additional people to help collaborate on this project when you reached out to me.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. It's one of those things that's kind of been in the back of my head to write. I love to write, but I don't feel like I have a full book in me. So or not yet anyway. It's not, I don't think it's time yet.
Right.
But
We'll work on that, Beverly. No.
and I think one day it will be, and I think I'll know when it's right. But I think
Yes.
I was so excited to be a part of writing a chapter, and just kind of little known fact, but when I was in high school, I was actually asked to be a part of a devotional book, and it never came to fruition, but there were writers from high school up to retired, and we were all going to create this book. So it's been a few years, but I finally get to be a part of a book that is written from a Christian's perspective. But back to what I wanted to share is I was so excited. And so Jeannine sent me a list of the chapters and highlighted the ones that were still available. And when she did, one in particular really captured my attention. And it wasn't as much of the topic, although I found the topic very intriguing, and it's the networking etiquette topic. But it was the verse. It was Colossians 3:23, and I shared with Jeannine. I said, I would like that one if it's still available, and here is why. That is the scripture I spoke about at my mother's funeral. And Jeannine reached back to me and said, I was hoping you'd pick that one. And I thought, okay, this is meant to be. I would like to share, though, what's interesting is when I shared that scripture at my mom's funeral, it was really a very adequate way to describe her. And what the scripture reads is, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as if working for the Lord and not for men. And all my life, my mom she was an excellent seamstress, and she made things for people all the time and was always doing something for somebody, or opening her home for somebody. And she would always use the most annoying phrase to me. It was a labor of love. And it would crawl all over me. I just hated that. And a lot of it was labor and work had some negative connotations to me. And I felt like she was saying, oh, this was really hard, but I did it just because I loved you and whatever, And it was and the morning of her funeral, I remember laying in bed thinking, what on earth am I going to talk about? And that verse came into my head, and it was like my eyes were open. I had eyes to see, ears to hear, and I saw it differently. And I realized, no, it was work that she loved to do. She loved to sew. It was not tedious. It was not arduous for her. And she loved to do it. And it was her using God's gifts to do something of service for someone else. And I had never looked at it from that perspective before. So that verse now is very near and dear to my heart. And the Lord put it on my heart about a year prior to that to memorize that verse. And it's just like He keeps bringing it back into my
Bringing
life.
it back. Yes. Yes.
But yeah, so I thank you so much for that opportunity. And, um, that's just how I knew it was actually something we were supposed to
That
be
was
doing.
your chapter, huh? Yeah.
Very, very definitely. And so, I mentioned earlier, I love the topic of networking so much. And before we started our recruiting business, my husband was on a job that moved us around the country quite a bit. And almost every single one of my jobs that I held, I got as a result of networking. And I don't necessarily consider myself an outgoing person, though people would probably, that know me here online might think differently, but I am a little bit introverted. But I knew how to connect with people, which I think is really what networking is all about. So,
Yes.
yeah. Um, and if you want to, I think what we might could do over the next few minutes is we can talk a little bit about the chapter that I wrote, if that's good with you.
Yeah,
And
let's do it. Let's do it. That
okay,
was a great chapter. I think you did a beautiful job.
well,
Of
thank
course, I'm a
you.
little biased because I, of course, love you and loved everything you wrote. And I knew the story. You had shared the story about the scripture. So I'm a little biased, but I do think you did a fantastic job. So, yeah, let's jump into your chapter.
Yeah. So one of the things that I really reflected on when it came to networking, and the etiquette behind it is from a secular perspective, when we look at networking, you think of it more as to build a mutually beneficial relationship. But when you start applying Christian principles, this networking becomes more giving than what you take. And when
Yes.
you approach networking from that standpoint, how can I give more? How can I connect more? I find it's almost counterintuitive, but when we take that focus off of ourselves and look for ways that we can serve others, God actually opens more doors and makes the networking process more rewarding than we could even hope or imagine. Yeah, and I'm just
Yes.
curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yes, absolutely. And it was funny. I've always thought that, and I'll share my first experience with networking, but as I was, getting the chapters in from everybody, that was a running theme was it's about giving, not taking so much because the world tells us, "Oh, networking is about what can I get?" Can I use this person to get that job? And then they
Mm,
don't cultivate the relationship. Um, my first real experience with networking was probably, I don't know, 25 years ago or so, and it was from an attorney perspective. I worked for a law firm, then later a law school, but I always saw this, um, what I perceived as, you give me this and I'll get that. And, it was, they used to call it back in the day, rain making and all this. And, I thought, "Oh, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm not about using people." And of course, it was a misunderstanding on my part. The people I was around were not doing that. So I want to put that out there. They were not doing that. But my perception, because I didn't really understand what that concept of networking was, my perception was skewed. So that was the other thing I loved about collaborating on this book was just seeing the heart of all the contributors. And
yes.
every example they shared was about giving and not taking, and helping and supporting and encouraging.
Mhm.
even if you couldn't help the person, the whole topic of brewing success is, cup of coffee meeting, you're just
Mhm.
getting together with somebody you may not know or you may know, having that cup of coffee, or if coffee's not your thing, tea or whatever else,
Mhm.
and just chatting about, things important to both of you. And one of those things, if you're a job seeker, is sure, I'm looking for a job. Do you know anybody, or can you guide me? Or, but that it doesn't stop there. It continues on. Again, it's
Mhm.
giving. And that job seeker is also supposed to give back.
Mhm.
You're paying it forward too. Again, it's all about giving on all sides, if you will. So anyway, that I'm glad that you brought that up, because that was one thing that I was pleasantly um, pleased to see through pretty much every chapter from all
Uh-huh.
contributors, was the
It's
giving
so
aspect.
interesting too how in life it's kind of like me with the labor of love phrase. I'm kind of skewed this way, but as you grow and mature, and if you allow God to work on your heart and your thinking, you start to develop new perspectives. And it's not the selfish rainmaking or whatever,
Right.
or I'm going to go this and give you this, and you're going to give me that, and whatever.
Right. Right.
I do want to take a second, and we should say hi to our friend Aricia Schaefer, who's joining
Hi,
us.
Ari. Yeah.
She says networking really is the best way to find a job, and you can find ways to do it that are in your comfort zone. And
Yeah.
remind me, but Ari is a contributor, Aricia is a contributor,
Yep.
and did she write on the introverts chapter? Was
Well,
that her
she
chapter?
wrote she wrote about, overcoming networking obstacles. So,
Oh,
yeah, she touched on that and a lot of different things, actually. She
uh-huh.
did a fantastic job as
Can't wait
well.
to
Yes.
read it. Yes, can't
Yes.
wait to read all the different contributions. When you sent it over to proof, I only proofed my portion, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep my head in the game because I want to have the whole book. I want to hold it and feel it and read it in paper.
Yes. Yes.
One of the things, so in my chapter, I shared 6 principles that I feel like are helpful for when you're considering what etiquette you should follow when you're networking. And guys, if you're watching, I'm not going to give you all 6 principles. You're going to have to go get the book. But there's two that kind of stick out that I do want to share. And so um make sure that you go and pre-order this book now, and then you can get the rest of them on Valentine's Day when it comes out. But the two that stick out to me is asking good questions. So it's real easy, I think, because we get nervous when we're in a networking situation, maybe, and we're talking to strangers, that we just kind of want to make the conversation. We just want to verbally vomit all over ourselves and
Yeah.
them, and just talk about us because we're a little bit nervous and we don't know what else to say. So, one of my big recommendations in the book was to prepare ahead of time. Think about what are some standard questions that would pretty much apply to anybody that you could ask in a networking situation. So, for example, I don't anymore, but I used to live in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I'm not far from there anymore. But one of the things I noticed over the years in living there is most of the people that I encountered through, whether it was through church or through the business world, um, or even my running group of friends, were not originally from Arkansas. So one of my favorite questions to ask people is, where are you from originally? And let them, that just opens up a whole conversation. And then you can go, well, how did you get here? How on earth did you
Right.
end up here? And that can open up a conversation, and you might find, well, she knows this person who knows this person, and I know that person. And so it's one of my favorite questions. Another great question that I think is helpful, especially if you're a job seeker, is to ask them questions about their line of work. What intrigued you about why did you choose that line of work? And someone might come back and say, I didn't choose it, it chose me. Here's how I end up in this position. And
Right.
or I've been dreaming of it since I was 4 years old, and here's my story. And so people like to talk about themselves. So, but they don't like to verbally vomit on themselves, which they will do if they're nervous. But if you're asking
Right.
questions, they're going to talk more about themselves with ease. And here's the hidden secret in that is you may not have to say a single thing. They're going to come away from that conversation, and I guarantee if they don't say it, they're going to think, ah, that Jeannine, she is the best conversationalist. She is just so easy to talk to, and she
Right.
really seemed to understand. And you're like going, I didn't say a word, but you listened,
Listened.
which was another
Yes.
point that I made in the book. But I think just taking it deeper into asking good questions is so helpful.
Well, I'm glad you said, obviously asking good questions, and several of the contributors also, stated questions. I think Ari shared some questions that people can ask. Lisa Rothwell did as well. Several contributors. But the thing that struck me when you were talking there towards the end was the listening part.
Mhm.
Because listening, when you're networking with people, listening is so important because
Mhm.
that's how once you build that relationship with that person, that's how you maintain that relationship. And I'll tell you, Earl did a really good job. Well, everybody did, obviously, but Earl, I just remember his chapter standing out because he talked about listening and how important it is to take that information and then use that again later to keep in contact with people. Send that person a note and ask, how did your child do in that softball tournament? How did, you can use that information to grow the relationship and really develop a deeper professional relationship because you're asking questions that really resonate and are important to the person,
Yeah.
about their children, their family, their career. So I like that you said that, and it just made me think of Earl because he, from a Gallup strengths perspective, he's what you call a woo, and
Mhm.
he is just always, looking to connect with people and chat and really delve deeper. So I did want to throw that out there.
I love that so much. And listening wasn't one that I had planned to dive into here in this space. But one thing that I'm going to add to the listening, I think so many of us are guilty when we are having a conversation that we're thinking our next thought that we're going to say. And we miss maybe some good information because we didn't listen carefully because we're too busy thinking about what it is that we want to put out there. And so really taking time to listen and process, and just like Earl said, pay attention to what they say about their family. you know uh, Goodness, if you're a grandparent, you're a grandparent.
Yes, I have 8
Why
grandchildren.
about
Yes.
that grandbaby?
Yes.
and
Yes.
and if I come back and ask you about that grandchild, I think I probably just scored some big points with with you,
Yes.
especially um remembering things, or my kids, I'm coaching my kids soccer team, and we're headed to the championship game, and then you can come back and go, how was it? Did y'all make it? Did you win? What? And it's just more
Right.
things to talk about that aren't necessarily um business related, and kind of make you round out more as a person. Mhm.
Yes.
So
Yes. Lisa Rothwell, another contributor. She's an attorney out of Ohio. Used to work with her, gosh, almost 20 years ago, 15, 20 years, something like that, at Regent University. We were in the law school together. And anyway, we went to a networking event. I think it was, well, that doesn't matter, but we went to this networking event and she met someone. And years later, she told me she still kept up with that person. And she would say things like, the person likes pizza. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. And she said, yeah, I just sent him a note that says, when you go to Chicago, you need to stop at this restaurant to get their deep dish pizza, blah, blah, blah. And so that's what she does. She pays
Uh-huh.
attention to, you know, the things they like, the things that they're interested in. And she just happened to know that this person really liked pizza and was going to an area that had this restaurant. And again, she just kept that relationship going for years, and but just easy examples, like you said,
Right.
family, and using social media. You
Yeah.
posted the other day, well, maybe it was last week now, but I love your pig, Mater. I saw that and
Mater.
I was like, that is just so adorable. So anyway, yeah.
Oh goodness, we have a couple of comments. Aricia says, "And take notes after you meet so that you remember." Yes, yes. I think that's huge. In whatever system you use to keep track of people that you meet, definitely. So much of people a little bit are really good with this device and just putting it in their phone. And I'm trying to get better with my contacts of putting that. Also, Earl McFarland joins us. Is this your
Hey,
Earl?
Earl.
And he says, I love the look on their face when I bring up something that they mentioned. People want to feel heard. It's so true, Earl. I love that.
Yes.
That's such a good point. They
Yes.
do. It's kind of like we were saying earlier that even if you don't say a thing, but you let them talk, they feel like they've been heard. And then when you can come back and you actually remembered what they said, that's big bonus points. So,
Right, right. Well, because people, they like to know you care, you
mhm,
know? They they want to know that they're helping you and that, and it feels good when you help them. It goes back to how we started the conversation today about giving. Networking is about
mhm,
giving. And part of that giving is about caring for those people that you let into your network. And I would say
mhm,
that's important too, who you let in.
mhm,
When you're networking, whether it's looking for a job, collaborating on a project, whatever the case may be, is you want to surround yourself with good people. You don't want to just let anyone in. If you find during a networking event that you do not click with that person or that person's values do not align to
mhm.
yours, then that person's not the right person for your network or
Right,
your circle, if you will.
right.
So you want to develop those deeper connections with the people that you let in. Yeah.
Something that this just came to me as you were saying that. You know, since this book is written from a Christian perspective, and I did not say this in the book, but something you could do before you actually go into the networking event is to say a quick prayer. Ask God to open your eyes to the people that you're supposed to connect with, to lead you to the right people, to give you the words to say, to just to have a good experience, be able to make someone's day, and for you to come away feeling like this was worth your while. And I think, it's just something, goodness, we should know as Christians. All you have to do is ask him for that guidance and let him lead that way on that as well. And by the same token, you can also ask him to um, close any doors or protect you from people that may not be good associates for you as well. So,
Right, right.
thought.
Right. I think that's an excellent suggestion. Absolutely, absolutely.
one other point that I wanted to bring up, and then we'll move along because I know we're getting short on time here. But one of the other principles that I mentioned in my etiquette book is remembering someone's name.
Yes.
And I cannot, I'll say that with like three fingers pointing back at me, they're all pointing back at me. Because how many times do you go and you get so engrossed in a conversation with someone and you're like, that was a really cool person. I can't remember their name.
Right. Right.
And I hear so many people say, well, I'm just not good with names. Well, get over it. Figure out a way to be good
Right.
with names.
Right. Well, stop using the excuse. You got to ask the
Mhm.
question. If you don't remember, just say, we've had a great conversation. Remind me again what your name was. I was so engrossed with what you were saying.
Yeah. And
Easy.
you can
Yeah.
actually too say, I remember my name is, and that kind of thing as well. And,
Yes.
just
Yes.
kind of have that reintroductory before, like you said, ask their
Right.
name and say
Right.
your name again. So you're not putting them at any awkward feeling. But yes, I think it is so important. And if you can find a way to use their name early in the conversation, Jeannine,
Yes, Beverly.
then it is that's going to help you. Plus, one of the things I mentioned in the book is people like to hear their name said.
Yes.
Their name is a gift. It's special to them. In most cases, it's special. And so you saying their name again, it gives that feeling of being heard. Now, you don't want to be that person that uses their name, Jeannine, over and over in the same sentence,
Right.
Jeannine, because
Right.
Jeannine, how did you do this, Jeannine? That's annoying.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
I was in a networking group with a person that did that. Oh, it just drove me nuts. I couldn't focus on what she was saying because she kept saying my name over and over.
She must have been really working on trying to remember your name.
And it was, I think it was maybe a tool or a habit that she learned early on, but even as she
Yeah.
knew the people
Sounds
within
like it.
the group, she
Yeah.
just kept that on, kept on doing that. And it was really, really very annoying. So don't do that, but
Don't
do
do that.
definitely practice saying their name. And y'all don't feel bad if you have to ask again what their name is. They may not remember yours. And the more you network, the more comfortable you'll get with
Yes.
remembering, and you'll get better. It's just a muscle you have to exercise.
Yes.
So,
Agreed. Agreed.
uh, so one of the things that we haven't talked about is the companion guide. I would like to know a little bit more and like for you to share that about that with our audience.
So the companion guide is it's kind of like a workbook, if you will. It takes what you've learned in the book, although it doesn't follow each chapter in order or anything like that. But let's say we're talking about going to a networking event. Well, in the companion guide, you will find, worksheets that help you prepare for that event. Let's say you're
Mm,
going to a conference. Well, what's the conference? Who do you want to meet with at the conference? A lot of times you can go on conference websites, see who will be in attendance, and then you can make note of that in the companion guide. So stuff like
mhm,
that to ensure that you're prepared. As you said earlier, Beverly, before you go to a networking event, you want to be prepared, and that allows you to do
mhm.
so. It also provides areas in the book where you can do an elevator pitch so that you can practice what you will say
Mm,
as an introduction when you meet someone. Things like that. Because again, the book gives so much different guidance and strategies to use. The companion guide just allows you to write it down and, have it there as you're kind of reading the book. Yeah.
Great, great. So let me ask you this. Tell me, is the companion guide, is this a physical product or is this a digital product? And is it something that's purchased separately or how does someone get access to it?
So when you buy the book, you'll be given a link to the companion guide. It is a downloadable PDF.
Okay.
You could certainly purchase it separately, but you don't need to because you're going to get the link with the book when you purchase the
Okay.
book. You're also going to get a link to a course called the First Impression Formula course,
Oh,
and at a discounted cost for that. But
okay.
that tells you, how to make a good first impression. Because as Beverly was saying, sometimes we meet someone and we just start talking and talking and talking, and we forget about listening, and we're all off topic. And so you don't necessarily make a good first impression when you do that. So I wanted to make sure I included that course in the book, deeply discounted, so that you could take advantage. And that also comes with a downloadable PDF and a workbook as well. So you get a lot of good resources, but the most value, I think, is really the 12 contributors to the book. Just those expert insights are just priceless.
Right.
I feel so blessed that every one of them agreed to do this project and really brought their A game and gave away a lot of secrets. So of what's made them successful in their
Mhm.
networking endeavors. So I'm really excited about this effort, and I can't wait for you guys to get it.
Yes, me too. It was such a fun project to work on, and I'm really blessed. It blessed me to be able to write and share, and I feel like probably everybody that contributed probably felt the same way. I always heard this before, and I haven't um I haven't been in the classroom situation much, but of course I teach things online and things like that. But when you have the opportunity to teach, you actually learn something a little bit more. And I felt like, I gained so much just from going through this process. So, um,
Awesome.
and
Awesome.
and honestly, I think um, networking is one of those things that it can be used in all areas of your life, not just job seekers. So even if you
Yes.
are not a job seeker, don't let the title, Brewing Success, a Job Seeker's Guide to Networking, don't let that throw you off. This is going to be very useful, I feel like, in all types of situations. And e- it would definitely be worth your read for sure. So make sure you hop over to Amazon. I have posted the title of the book in the comments, so jump and grab that. Brewing Success, a Job Seeker's Guide to Networking. Jeannine, is there anything else that you think that we didn't cover that we need to add?
Um, well, I honestly, I think we did cover everything. I would like to just publicly say thank you to all the contributors. Ari Schaefer, Austin Stork, Beverly Smith, obviously, Crystal Marshall, Earl McFarland, Janie Livesay, Jennifer Craig, John Wayne Mullins, Len Remius, Lisa Rothwell, and Shane Arnold. I love you all. Thank you so much for contributing to the book. And I know people are going to love everything you shared. You did it from your heart as true giving networkers. So thank you so much.
And y'all, I have dropped in the comments how to connect with Jeannine. If you are not following her on LinkedIn, please go to her profile and connect with her, follow her, whichever you prefer. In the right-hand corner of her profile is going to be a bell. Please click on that bell because it will notify you when she posts. She posts some really good, valuable content. Also, the other thing that I would like to tell you too about Jeannine, she's really does an excellent job in helping those people that are coming out, retiring out of the military and going into civilian jobs. She's really good at being able to translate what it is they did in the military to a civilian perspective. And as someone who has recruited before, we need that translation. So guys, if that is you and you are catching this or you know someone that is retiring, please, 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 Jeannine is your person. They need to reach out to her. And goodness, we've got some comments. Aricia says, thank you for the opportunity. My goodness. LinkedIn user again says, great job. Thank you, LinkedIn user, whoever you are. We love you for being here. Earl says, thank you for the opportunity. So really excited again as well. I will add that I want to thank everyone for joining us, and I will be back next week. And at the same time, will be a solo. Meanwhile, if you are looking for someone to help you with your resume and you are a mid or senior level professional, make sure that you reach out to me, and I am happy to help you, and we can set up a time for us to meet. So again, thank you everyone for tuning in. Happy networking, happy Wednesday, and thank you, Jeannine, so much for being a part.
Thank you, Beverly.